things. You can have all the strategy, but if you don't deal with this piece of it, you're just going to end up back where you are right now. It's the thinking behind the strategy that you want to pay attention to. What are you affirming to be true? Because that's what your internal chatter is doing. I know that there are things that you say to yourself that if someone you loved or your child said it to themselves, you would be absolutely mortified that they were speaking to themselves in that manner. So we need to change this. Welcome to Possibilities with me, Hina Khan. I'm a peak performance mindset coach, and I help you create a life you love, truly love, through ease, joy, and fun. We are not about the hard work, struggle, or grind. Your internal chatter. You are having so many thousands of thoughts a day. So much of it is on autopilot. And there are things that you say to yourself that you would seriously be mortified if someone else said them to you or to your child or someone that you love, let alone you saying it to you. And this chatter is truly running the show. I remember when I was thinking about my goals and what I would love to create when I first wanted to create seven figures, and I could even just admit that to myself. One of the things I would start to look at was, does my internal chatter match that of the person with the goal? All of my money noise, relationship noise, health noise, just all the noise in my head. Is that the kind of soundtrack that is playing in someone's mind who is comfortable with money, sees themselves as a money magnet, sees themselves creating a business through ease, joy, and fun? And I'll tell you something, it was not. There was a really big disconnect in what I desired and my internal chatter being a match to that. My internal chatter was a match to my self-image and my current results. So your current results are actually a reflection of the past. And if you want to change your current results, you've got to bring the future into the present. So the present is a reflection of your past, and you want to change that by bringing your future into the present. Either way, it all happens now. And part of that is recognizing our thoughts. What are we thinking? You know, you could have two people that have the exact same training, and started their job at the exact same time. I mean, really a level playing field. And one is doing really, really well, and the other one is doing okay, is average. What is the difference? I'll tell you what it is. It's their thinking. It's their beliefs. And this is why I say all strategy works. The strategy that you have is great. It's the thinking behind the strategy that you want to pay attention to. So when I first started to get this idea of wanting to create seven figures in my business, I knew there were tons of strategy that could get me there. There were tons of ways that I could do it. But what I didn't know was, what's the thinking of a person that has seven figures? What do they actually think? And how am I going to find that out? Well, some of the things I did was actually look on YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, hey, don't forget to hit subscribe. So I would look on YouTube at people, and I could just see what their days were like or in interviews, and that would tell me some things about their thoughts. But I think one of the most important things I did was I started to get into the room with people that were seven-figure earners, or definitely multiple six-figure earners, because then I could hear in their own language what their subconscious soundtrack was like. Because our words are the first way that you can see what somebody thinks. And what I could start to hear was how they talked about money. Things were not talked about as in, oh, that is expensive or that is cheap. Those were things that I started to notice. When they were making decisions, what I noticed was they were making decisions from a place of abundance, more of, is this what I desire, not based on price. I would notice that if we were in a room and we were going out to eat and the bill came, there wasn't this, okay, you had this amount, you had that, I only had that. There wasn't complication around it. Someone would just throw their credit card down. So, what I noticed was this ease around money. There wasn't tension or friction around it. And then I would simply ask them questions about what did they actually think about money? What were their thoughts about a seven-figure business? Did they think that it required a lot of employees? I mean, everyone had different businesses, but I really wanted to get an idea of how they even thought about growing their business. What was their schedule like? This was something else I wanted to know. Did they feel like they had to be in every single meeting and so forth? So, what you want to start to think about, if we just pull this back, is when you think about your goal, does your internal chatter, and this really comes from Neville Goddard's work, does your internal chatter match the internal chatter that you think a person with your goal would have? And there's so much insight and possibility in that question. So if the answer is no, then you can also start to look at it not from a perspective of, okay, what is the thinking that I would add, but what is the thinking that you would release? So, what is happening in your own subconscious soundtrack? What is happening in your mind? What are the thoughts that you're thinking? What are the words that are coming out of your mouth? And what are some beliefs that you could start to drop? I think that's a great place to start because sometimes we don't know what to think. So start with what you would not be thinking, what you would not be saying to yourself over and over and over again. And you can start by simply dropping it. Just drop it. Once you drop it, you can then ask yourself, well, what would the person with my goal think? And I promise you, you'll get a thought, you'll get an idea, and then you can build on that idea. Now, why is this so important? It's so important because this is what's running the show. You can have all the strategy. You can hire the exact same person that somebody that you admire hired. You can throw money at a lot of things. But if you don't deal with this piece of it, you're just going to end up back where you are right now. And so when I did this, I started to change my internal chatter. And one of the things that I did was I would write out my self image and even write out the thoughts that I would have. What are the thoughts that I would have about money? Well, that money is easy, that I am an excellent steward of money, that I'm an excellent money manager. Money is fun, it is playful. I love looking at my finances. I meet all of my financial obligations with ease. I am open to receiving mind-blowing financial abundance. Money is being deposited into my account every day. I wake up to clients saying, I'm in. I can't wait to start. My clients love to pay me. They love to pay me. I provide exceptional value and service. I don't get paid for how hard I work. I get paid for the impact that I make. And the impact that I make is beyond what anybody can pay me. I'm excellent at what I do. I'm a world-class coach. I'm the go-to in this space. I am sought out. I am sought after. I always fly the front of the plane. I love to travel. I allow things to be easy for me. I'm so supported. I allow myself to be supported. So these are the kinds of things that I would write out because I'll tell you something. Now it can flow out of me, but it did not at first. So I want you to know that there was a time where I would stumble over those words. It would feel so far removed. But over time, for me, of the repetition of writing it out over and over again, I started to embody it. And here's what I would notice. I would notice it out there in the world. I might be purchasing something. I may be in conversation around money, and I would notice how there was no friction or tension around it. It was really easy. It was easy for me to make a decision. And I would notice how some of the things that I would have in my life, I let go of. So one of the things was, I don't know, no shade to Groupon, but I remember years and years and years ago, I had signed up for Groupon. And this isn't about Groupon, it's about the energy behind it. Every time that I would look at it, it actually made me feel like I was in lack because I was looking for a deal. So there's nothing wrong with Groupon. That you can be very abundant and have Groupon and feel great about the app. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying for me, it put me in a space of lack. And at that time, it was perpetuating lack in my life. Like I don't have enough. I've got to look for a deal. So I got rid of it because the version of me that was a seven-figure business owner did not do that. I don't know what it would be like now if I put it on my phone. I have no desire for it, but that's kind of interesting. So there are things that started to shift for me as every day I was writing this out. Another thing that I did to help change the internal chatter with writing this out was I did, oh gosh, like, I filled a notebook with writing this out with my non-dominant hand, because then I had to really focus. I couldn't just kind of go into a hypnotic state with it. Like, I really had to focus because it wasn't natural for me, and that was really powerful because these words were not natural for me. So now here I am writing it in a way that is not natural, and I think that really helped it to sink in. You don't have to use these tools. I'm only sharing what worked for me because these tools at different areas and times in my life were an access point for me. I don't necessarily need that right now. Your tool might be visualization, but what you want to start to catch is that internal chatter, and is it a match to the person with your goal? If you had your goal, would those be the thoughts that you would be thinking? And then what you're gonna see will change as you start to shift that, is that your external world will start to change to match the internal chatter. You see, your external world right now is set up to match your internal chatter. This is why we wanna change this, and this can happen for relationships too. I know many of you would love to be in a romantic partnership. Well, check in with your internal chatter about that. Do you feel that it is something positive and possible for you and in your life? Or do you say things like, oh, all the good ones are gone, or it's so hard to be dating right now? What are you affirming to be true? Because that's what your internal chatter is doing. It is affirming your life, and you are creating your world through your words, the words that you are speaking to yourself inside your mind, and the words that you are saying out loud. I hope you're getting how important this is. This is a shift. I mean, it's a life-changing shift because what you do is you jump onto the frequency with your goal, which has a whole different internal dialogue happening. Now, there's gonna be times where you're kind of going back and forth, but then over time, as you do this and start to embody it, you actually spend more time in the space of your goal and in that world, and your words convey that. Which means that there can be something happening in the world. The economy can be going through some stuff. There could be something happening at your job, something happening in your business. There could be something that you were expecting to receive. I don't know, a tax refund, and it doesn't happen, or it feels like it's delayed. So life is gonna life. All of that is happening, but what you're gonna start to notice is the way that you speak to yourself about life lifing is going to be different, and that is your first clue. That's your first clue that you are shifting, that you're shifting. It's in your words, because you're gonna say to yourself, "Oh my gosh, in the past, that would have consumed me." You realize that there's gonna be a delay, and you're like, "Okay, moving on." You don't find yourself spinning about things because you also understand that your point of support is not outside of you, it is within you. And so you remain strong. And that's why one of the things that I talk about in my program is this idea that we're not creating a foundation for a park bench. We're creating a foundation internally. And this is part of your internal chatter. We're creating a foundation for a skyscraper. That requires digging a little bit deeper. That requires more work being done underground where people can't see it, so we can really root in so that you can feel strong and secure and have the right foundation no matter what is happening in the world, no matter what is happening, no matter what kind of weather is happening. You see that these are just events, and the way that you process it, internalize it, is from your goal. So your internal chatter is different, and the words coming out of your mouth is different. By the way, let me just say to you that in the show description, we have a link if you want to see what we have open for enrollment, a place to apply, a place to get started. Please do that if you're wondering what we do in my community, and if you feel like this is something to help you get to your next level. Because what you're hearing here are all the things that we do for you to create a foundation that can withstand anything. See, really what we want to do and what I want your internal chatter to reflect is being powerful in uncertainty. Change is going to happen. It's who are we being when change happens? Okay, I'm going to give you another little story here. So I did a retreat in Whistler, British Columbia, Canada. Oh my gosh. Honestly, absolutely stunning, gorgeous, profound retreat. And I think we had about 40 people or so come to that retreat. Many of us were on the same flight back home, going from British Columbia to Ontario. So we're on the flight, and I would say that we're about an hour and a half out of landing in Toronto. And then the pilot comes on and says, "We will be turning around back to Vancouver because of weather in Toronto or in Ontario. We can't land." I immediately got into the WhatsApp group because I knew so many of my clients were on this plane, on this flight, and said, "Who do we be when our plane turns around?" And now we've gotta find hotels. I mean, some people had their little children there. It was quite the experience, but who do you be? I can't control that. I can't control the weather. I can only control who I am and who I be, and how do I show up as a leader for my clients in that moment. And then what we did was many of us got hotel rooms, and then we're there the next day, and so we are at the airport the next day. I end up getting out on a flight earlier than Paul. Paul was with me. He was gonna get out on a flight on the evening, and how around the same time that we're almost landing in Toronto, I hear we're turning the plane around 2 days in a row. Who do I be? There was an accident at Pearson, and they had to turn the plane around. Who do I be when my plane gets turned around again? And so who I be, that's where I have choice, and that comes from my foundation. I can't control the weather. I can't control an accident. But with a strong foundation, I don't have to be rocked. My world does not have to be rocked. I don't have to go into chaos internally. I can see it that this is an event that has happened. Now, what do I need to do? What positive action can I take? And I really saw it as an opportunity to show my community what leadership can look like in a situation like this. It actually ended up being a beautiful teaching and a way to embody for everybody that was going through this what we teach. It's not, I mean, it's fine. Listen, when you're in Whistler, oh, gorgeous. And we have rented out the Scandinavian spa. And we are like in these beautiful pools and waters and saunas and steam rooms. It is very easy to tap into your spirituality and to tap into infinite intelligence and feel like everything is good and I am so connected. But when your flight gets turned around twice, you've got kids at home, have to make arrangements, the dogs, all of the things. Well, that's when it counts. That's when we can ask ourselves, did I really learn something? Did I really learn something or not? And what was so beautiful was some people were able to land. It was just how the whole community rallied around those that were still in, trying to figure out their transportation home. But to get to this point that that way of thinking is natural, it started years ago for me, where I had to really do an audit of my own thoughts and think, my goodness, if anybody spoke to one of my kids the way that I'm speaking to myself, I would be like rolling up my sleeves. I'd be like, I might catch some charges for this. Like, I'd be like, oh, let's go. And I speak to myself like that. And I wonder why I'm struggling with my goals and creating the abundance that I want. No, 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 no. Nobody gets to speak like that to me, including me. And so when you're trying to figure this out, you may not know and you may need something to compare it to. So I remember being at a lunch with two people that wanted to have, not a lunch, it was like a coffee, and they wanted to have a coffee with me. And the conversation was kind of turning into a way that didn't seem like the best use of my time. And because I'd been doing this work, my immediate thought was, would Bob, my mentor, Bob Proctor, would he sit through something like this? And I was like, no. And I was like, I'm a person that doesn't allow people to waste my time. So what am I doing? What am I just going to be nice because I don't want them to think that I'm rude? So I'm just going to keep this going. So I basically said to them, I think this conversation is going in a direction that's not very useful. So we are going to wrap it up now. Thank you for coming. And I left and I allowed them to walk themselves out. So what I did was I connected to my mentor and someone that I admired and thought, would they allow somebody to be doing this? I don't have time for this. And I'm not going to allow people to waste my time. So these are all of the little kind of things that you can do to course correct in a moment. If you found this useful, will you do me a favor? Please do me this favor. Can you share this podcast episode with somebody or share on Instagram or whatever your social media platform is that you listened to it and it made a difference for you? I would really appreciate it. And when you rate, review, or subscribe, especially if you're listening to it on YouTube, please, please, please subscribe. Because what happens is it pushes out this kind of content. And I think we need this kind of content. So if this found you, will you allow it to find somebody else? All right. And I will see you here next time on Possibilities.